Hi, everyone. Movie Night Society here once again. We're talking about John Wick Chapter 3, the most recent film in the John Wick series. Uh, yeah, we actually just watched this yesterday with two of our friends. It was a lot of fun. Uh, I like how with each film we've kind of like doubled the amount of people that we like watched it with, kind of. Because it was like
Yeah,
first
I guess that's true.
like you and I just watched it separately, and then second movie we watched it together, and then watched it with the two of us and a couple of our friends this time.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
yeah, yeah. I think it's like this is one of those series that's like good for watching with a group.
Yeah, it was fun to watch with other people.
Yeah, and just
Like
like react.
I had a fun time watching 2 with you because of, like, the funny parts,
Yeah,
about it, like the stairs and just some other scenes, and they definitely kept that tone with the 3rd one because we
yeah,
all laughed at several scenes during the movie, but I guess we'll get into that. But it was
yeah,
fun to watch it with people. I don't know if I would've laughed as much if I was by myself, so it was nice to
yeah.
watch it with others.
Yeah. So we're gonna spoil the movie, like we always do, and
It's just what we do
I don't.
around here, it's what
Yeah,
we
that's
do.
just what we do. We're just here to spoil the movies for you.
We're
That's
we're a bunch of spoiling punks. What can I say?
so what I don't know, how should we start this off? I mean, well, we you and I kind of talked about what we thought about the movie yesterday, but I mean,
Very briefly, yeah.
very briefly. Um I don't know, what did you should we say what we thought overall, or should we get into the plot, or what do you think?
Why don't we go into the plot and then we'll kind of give our thoughts after,
Okay,
because we're kind of gonna be breaking down our thoughts anyway, and then we'll just kind of give our final verdict at the end.
that sounds good. So yeah, this movie picks up pretty much immediately after the first or the second movie, the last one, and where John Wick has become excommunicado from sort of this hitman world, and he's going to have a bounty put on his head for $14 million, and he has like an hour to get himself ready. So the movie kind of starts off within that hour, and
Yeah,
it's
I
like
like where it
him kind
started,
of.
by the way.
Yeah,
I like how there wasn't any time jump to like here's 6 months later after that. It just immediately begins where the last one picked off.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. It just starts off immediately where it is kind of funny because I mentioned this, but at the end of the second movie, it's like, oh, broad daylight, and like they're in like this park, it's super sunny out. Three starts off, it's like
It's
nighttime.
nighttime, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's maybe I missed something. I feel like maybe I did, but it felt kind of like weird because we watched the two almost back to back. I mean, uh, so yeah, but it doesn't really matter. So John Wick is like on the run, and he's scrambling to get himself ready for when people start showing up to kill him. He goes to the New York Public Library, and he like finds this book that's on the shelf, and that like like once he like said like, oh, I'd like to get this book, I was like, there's gonna be a gun in it. There's
Yeah,
gonna be
you
like
did say
something in
that.
it.
You were hoping there was a gun in it. We knew there
Yeah,
was gonna be something, but I know you were hoping for a gun. No
yeah, I
gun, though,
was like,
sadly.
no gun, but
Which
he
honestly, I'm kind of surprised it didn't have a gun. Just knowing,
yeah,
like,
I know.
anytime like John Wick goes and gets something from kind of like this place where you wouldn't think he'd go and get something, it seems like last time in 2, like he got a gun. So you kind of expect it in this, but he still gets stuff, which is still like kind of funny in its
Yeah,
own way that he
it's
just
like
has this book in a library that like
he just
anyone
put it.
can like pick up, but
Yeah, like what if someone picked that up?
I guess he
Must
was
be
just
something that's so obscure that no one would ever touch it.
yeah. So
Um, but yeah, he like picks up this book, and it's got like a cross on a necklace on it, or in it, and a marker, and I don't know, something else. I think like a picture of him and his wife. Uh,
Yeah, because he kisses her in the picture, so it's the wife.
yeah. Oh, and some like gold coins. And again, it's very very video gamey. Just like
Yeah,
you got
definitely
to go
very
to
video gamey.
this place to get this thing, and then first fight happens where this really tall dude. I feel like I've seen that actor before
Mm.
in some other movie. I could be wrong. Um, but he was like, it was a really fun fight. The way that this guy like kind of moved around and stuff.
I
Way
I
his like
liked
kicks
how
and stuff.
John Wick also wasn't even safe before that hour is up, before he's like excommunicado.
Yeah,
There were
the
people
guy
like some
shows up
assassins
and
going after him like before it even ends. So it's like he's not
yeah,
even safe in this hour.
the guy shows up and he's like, who's gonna know the difference if I kill you now or within the next, or after the next 15 minutes?
I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah, it's like okay,
Although knowing how this world works, someone would be able to find out.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But still,
Someone would know.
yeah, this was. There's some like pretty funny stuff in this fight too, with like slamming the book into this guy's face.
Yeah,
Was pretty funny.
when
Like we were laughing a bit at this scene.
he like shoves the book in the guy's mouth and then just like starts smacking it into his
Yeah,
face.
the
And I
fact
think
that
it
how
like
much.
dislocates his jaw or something like,
Yeah,
didn't it?
yeah,
It's
it
like,
did.
oh, it's
And then
like,
like
oh,
he
that was
puts
like
like
really
his
gruesome.
head like neck down on the book, and then like slams his
Yeah.
head down, breaks his neck with a book. I mean, John Wick can kill you with anything, so it's it's funny when he does
Oh,
stuff like
okay.
that though.
I think I remember how I know this guy. He's a basketball player for the Houston Rockets.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it's like, oh, that's why he's so tall.
Why is he in here then?
I think he's acted before in other movies. Um, it says he's acted in like John Wick Chapter 3. I guess he was in the movie Hustle. I don't know. I guess it's just I don't know. Sometimes basketball players are in movies,
Yeah,
but
I
I mean,
guess
this guy's
sometimes.
like physique and like is so I don't know.
Yeah,
He's so kind of like intimidating because he's so tall. Uh,
that led to some of the fight being funny too. Is just how much taller he is than John Wick, and John Wick like trying to kind
also
of
the
figure
fact
out how
that
to take him out.
it's just like in a library.
Yeah,
And
and
there's
no
like a
one
part where the
does
guy
anything.
like shushes John Wick and then just immediately starts slamming him into the bookcases. It's like super loud. But yeah, he eventually kills the guy, and then what happened? He's like, I think he gets followed by some guys. In
Isn't this
I
where the
believe
knife
like
fight happens?
yeah, I think he's like passing through like Chinatown,
I
and
think that knife fight, I think was one of my favorite action sequences in this like trilogy so far.
yeah, that one was really fun. That it like really funny too. Like just how much they're like breaking glass, and then uh
I
there's like
like.
one part where he's fighting one guy and they like both have their fists out, and they both like look back behind them and like see like, oh, there's like knives and stuff here. And they both like smash the glass to like
Get
grab
the
the
knife.
knives. It was just
Yeah,
like really funny. It's like, oh, they both had the same idea. Um but yeah, all the like so many knives being thrown
this is the
like
true
all
Knives
around.
Out movie.
Yeah. Yeah, this came out the same year as Knives Out.
Coincidence? I think not.
And
Yeah, this scene was a lot of
he
fun.
yeah, I think it's probably my favorite. I mean, I really thought that like um I I don't know, the first part of this movie I think kind of peaks, and then
Yeah,
as
I
much
kind of
as I
agree.
like other action scenes later, I think this was like the best stuff in the movie.
I
The
I pretty
knife
much
fight,
agree. This was the most
and
memorable fight for me in
yeah,
the
and after
library fight.
this, he doesn't he like goes through a bunch of people, and then like he ends up in like a horse stable. Um
Yeah, yeah, he
and
does.
like the fight there was really funny because
How
John
he
Wick
uses
keeps
the horses.
using yeah, he keeps using the horses to like like he makes the horses kick his
Yeah,
opponents.
I think we were discussing in the movie is I love how John Wick uses like the environment to his
Yeah,
advantage, and he does this frequently. Because I've seen other action movies and stuff do that before. I'm sure you have too, but John Wick just really does it all the time. So that's why like a lot of his action scenes are so memorable, is because he uses stuff like that frequently. Because he was doing that in the knife fight, he was doing it in this one, using the horses. Like how often do you see
yeah,
that? And then getting on the horse and riding it through the streets
yeah.
while motorcycle guys are chasing him. It's just so good.
Yeah, super fun. Just I mean, this whole first part of the movie feels like one long kind of action sequence, and then it sort of slows down once he gets to. I mean, does he go to the doctor after? He goes to the doctor
I think
after
after
the.
this, after the horse fight, a
No,
fight on the horse,
I
wasn't
think
it?
he goes after the fight with the guy in the library, right? Because the guy like stabs him in the shoulder,
Yeah. Okay. Yes, he
and
does.
and then and then the time runs out while he's at the doctor,
Yeah.
and the
I liked
doctor's
how
like,
they
"I
did that
can't like
too.
help you
Yeah, like
anymore."
mid stitch, and he's like, "Oh, the hour's up. I can't.
Yeah.
You can't use my services anymore."
Yeah, I like that it wasn't like, "Oh, he finishes just in time." It's like, "Oh, no, he didn't finish."
Yeah. So
Like,
John Wick has to finish it himself.
yeah, and then the guy
Pretty
the
cool.
doctor is like, people are he, like, tells him where, like, a bottle is on the shelf, and he's like, "Well,
Yeah,
I
some
technically
medicine.
helped you,
Yeah.
so
So you gotta
let's
make it
make
look
it
like.
look like you forced me to help you."
Yeah. It's like,
Like,
shoot me
you
right
gotta shoot.
here. Right. He
Yeah.
shoots him. It's like, well, we probably need a second shot. So go ahead right here too.
That was, like, great. Yeah, just, like, all the code of honor that all these assassins have is just so funny. Just, like, how absurd it can get.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I forget, after he, like, escapes on the horse, like, where does he end up?
I think that's where he goes to the ballerina lady, whatever you want
Oh,
to
that's
call it.
right. Yeah, um,
That's where he presents like the rosary or rosario, and it's known as a ticket. I think they called it,
yeah,
because she like breaks it
um,
off. And it's like that's your ticket. I guess like it's a ticket to get him wherever he needs to go.
yeah, and
Because
he
I guess
wants to go
they
to,
kind of hit like he kind of learned this is where he learned to fight at, right? Is that's kind of where it hinted. This is kind of where his upbringing
yeah.
was. They don't really go too much into it, just like enough to tell you like this is where he learned to be John Wick, really.
Yeah, I think it was interesting too, like, they were kinda showing how I mean, I assumed that, like, all the ladies there were also being trained to fight, but they were,
Right.
like, kind of practicing ballet, and then there's, like, all these guys in the other room, like, practicing wrestling
Wrestling.
moves.
Hmm.
I thought that was interesting, and then, yeah, he, like, uses the ticket to, get safe passage to Casablanca, um, and he goes there, he meets up with, Halle Berry. I don't remember what the character's name was, but, she used a marker with him, so he's, like, uh, making her repay her favor or whatever, uh, to get to meet this guy who can, like, give him another way back into the assassin world, which I honestly kind of I don't know how I feel about this part of the movie, because I loved the fight scene, or the whole fight scene with, like, John Wick and Halle Berry and the dogs against, like, all those guys, and like you said, like, really good use of the environments, and the addition of the dogs in the fight scene was, like, super fun,
Hmm.
but just, like, I don't know, story-wise, I don't know how I felt about this whole idea. It was like, I'm glad I don't know, I both understand that they need to have John Wick come back into the assassin world, but it also feels like, "Oh, wait, there's just, like, a way back in." It was a little strange to me, but at least there was, like, some kind of consequence or sacrifice that John Wick had to make,
Hmm.
like, later, um, and
Yeah,
by
I
the
think.
end of the movie, it's like it didn't he's still basically on the run at the end
Hmm.
of the movie, so it's like it's not
Yeah,
like it changed too much,
No,
but
not
it did
really.
kind of feel
I
like,
think that some of these parts felt like they dragged a bit too. Like
yeah,
this stuff
I
felt like
think,
it went on a lot longer than it needed to.
yeah, I kind of said this to you, but it sort of lacked the sense of discovery from the first two movies to me. I
Mhm.
mean, I liked all the stuff when he went to, the theater with like all the ballerina people and the director, but I don't know, him, like, he has to go to the desert and what does he have to do? He has to, like, basically walk until he's about to die, and then someone will find him and pick him
Or
up,
they won't.
or they won't. Yeah,
Yeah.
and but of course he gets found, and um, yeah, he has a talk with this guy, and he has to pledge his allegiance, basically, or what they keep saying, like, fealty. I think that's the word they specifically kind of used,
Hmm.
um, to the high table, which is like, um, the villain in the second movie was trying to get a seat in the high table. Um, so I'm glad that it didn't feel like it was
They're the
totally out of nowhere.
shadowy bosses at the end of
Yeah,
the video game.
pretty
That's
much.
like one
Yeah,
way to put it.
they're probably gonna be like the final people that John Wick fights in this whole thing.
Yeah, most likely. They're like the end bosses.
Yeah, or I don't know, maybe not. We'll
We'll
see.
see.
But
Yeah.
I kind
Well,
of
they give
assume
that
that's
type
the
of
idea.
feel. Or they're like the ones that control and everything. And they're the
If the
ones that
final if the final John Wick movie is just like Shadow of the Colossus, where John Wick has to go to each, like, of the 12, like, bosses and, like, kill them, and they all fight in different ways, that would be awesome.
that
I
seems
would
more like
love
a
that.
Kill Bill type of situation.
Yeah, yeah, I thought of that too. Yeah, it seems like at the end of this movie, they're kind of setting up, like, that the high table in this whole organization is, like, kind of corrupt and shitty. um, is like, there's this, like, there's all of these scenes in between, what's going on with John Wick with the adjudicator lady,
Hmm.
who was like, I really like, it's so weird. She doesn't, like, necessarily do anything super, like, evil, I felt, but she's so kind of like, I don't know. She just, like, has like a sort of way of like speaking like she's higher than the other characters that was like, oh, you're annoying. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like, oh, you, like, definitely get the sense right away that, like, oh yeah, she's like,
you can tell
you
she's
kind of
like
hate
in,
her.
yeah, she has this like higher position of power.
Yeah.
She's, not like the top dog, but maybe like right below that. So she has this very uh, demanding, strong attitude. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna do what
I
I say
liked
or
this
else.
character though. It
Yeah,
was like a fun
I I like
character.
how we actually get to, or like how this character kind of enforces consequences on the
Yeah.
the other characters, because it just seems like it could be all brushed off or something like that. Like who's actually gonna have to pay for helping John Wick? It just seemed like maybe the movie would kind of gloss over that. But it's like anyone that like did anything for John Wick, she kind of comes for them.
Yeah, that was neat. Um, I do kind of wish that the consequences did feel a little stronger though, but it kind of, again, it kind of felt like set up, like, oh, she punishes the Lawrence Fishburne character, the Pigeon King
Yeah,
guy.
it makes it look like he dies, but then
Yeah,
obviously
I'm
say
glad he
he's
didn't
not.
die. I was like, come on, he was like one of the best characters. Uh, like, yeah, she just kind of says like, oh, you gave John Wick 7 bullets, so you're gonna get
Seven splashes.
7 cuts, yeah, or 7 slashes, and, like, guy comes up and slashes him 7 times. So it's like, okay, he's like disfigured, but it's not really like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like death is like the worst, kind of consequence here, and I don't know. No one, like, really important dies in this movie, I felt,
Hmm.
or I don't know. Again, it could maybe pay off better in the fourth movie, but
Yeah, at least like in the second one, like some of the villain characters, we didn't want to see them die. We were kind of
yeah,
hoping that some of them would come back. Didn't really feel like that way in this one.
I did feel that way about I want to look up the actor. because I thought he was great. Um, uh, this guy, Mark Dacascos, the bald dude, was really
Oh,
fun.
like the ninja
I
guy.
liked this character.
Just pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. This character was a lot of fun. Because he's just like he's
A
like
John Wick
essentially like
fanboy.
yeah, he's like a John Wick fanboy kind of. I thought that was really fun. Um, it's like I didn't expect him to like last the whole movie, but I thought the character was pretty fun. I didn't like really want him to die. Um, but yeah, I guess I felt like the adjudicator scenes, while they were like kind of fun, and I kind of liked that they're again sort of establishing some sort of ultimate goal with this series. I'm assuming. Um, it did feel like I don't know. It, like the second movie, I think I'm mostly just kind of comparing it in my mind to the second movie because like the second movie really felt like oh there were like real heavy consequences in it.
Yeah.
Where this one kind of felt like it was sort of trying to get things back to status quo, but at the same time not quite. You
Yeah.
know?
Which I was kind of hoping it wouldn't.
Yeah, I liked the I don't know the yes and attitude of the second movie, where it's
Hmm.
just like oh yeah like John Wick does this, he gets the consequences for it, and now we'll see what happens. And it's like, okay, but in this movie, they kind of just essentially reverse the consequences, but not
Not
completely, I
entirely.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of it kind of puts them in a different place, but it's also the same place, but then it's also I
I
don't
think
know.
at
It's sort
least
of
the
a
movie
weird
was
in
like.
between.
I think the movie was at least like clever how they did it.
Yeah,
So I
I
give it props. I can't be like too mad at it just because of that. Because
no, and
the
I
way
don't
it
want to say
happens at
like
least felt pretty natural. I thought.
yeah. I want to say I'm not like mad at it or anything because I really liked this movie,
Yeah,
but
I did too.
it was just like I was just it wasn't quite as good as the second one. I think that's
That's
really what I'm
yeah,
trying to say.
yeah. That's kind of how I felt.
Um,
That's kind of giving our more final thoughts though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's keep going with the story because John Wick meets up with the guy in the desert. I kind of forgot the name of that
I think
character.
he was called the Elder. That's what they referred to him as.
Was it?
So I just call him that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's right. Um, yeah, so he meets up with the elder, and he has to essentially uh, pledge his allegiance back to the high table, and he has to cut off his ring finger uh, as sort of a
Assassin's Creed, man.
symbol.
Assassin's Creed.
Is that what happens in Assassin's Creed? I don't. I mean, I've only played like the first one, so I guess I wouldn't
I
know.
believe it's the ring finger that at least like earlier in like the Assassin's history, they cut off a finger where like the hidden
Hmm.
blade would be. I
I
forget why exactly. But like then at some point, like when two takes place, it's like, oh yeah, we don't do that anymore. So
I was really surprised that like they didn't have some weird like oh let's give you a new finger kind of
mm,
deal something because it's like I'm always surprised when movies do that and like actually have a character lose an appendage or a limb or something. Like I mean in Evil Dead it's like okay, well once you cut off Ash's hand, you either have to come up with some excuse for him to have a new hand like they do in the show so that like oh so Bruce Campbell doesn't have to like act with only one hand the entire time
mm,
and like for the filmmakers to have to worry about that or like you just do it. Um, and I liked that they just kind of kept it. Um,
mhm.
and there were, it didn't feel like it had like too much of a consequence for what John Wick could do, but it was more of like a symbolic, meaning of like, oh, okay, he's pledging his allegiance back. Um, it was like, hey, he still is missing the finger by the end of the movie. It's like it's gone.
Yeah, they
Um,
didn't bring it back in any weird way.
I don't know if you watched the John Wick Chapter 4 trailer, but I did before
I have
uh
not seen the
the
trailer
meeting.
before.
Um,
I
I
probably
I
will
I
though
did not
afterwards.
I I didn't like look for whether he's still missing the finger or not, but I kind of hope he is. It's like interesting when they do that kind of thing. Uh, but yeah. So they what do they do after this? I guess he's just able to go back, right? He like is like, yeah, I'm pledging back to the high table. Uh, and oh, he has to essentially in order to get back in, he has to kill Winston, who's the owner of the New
Yeah,
York Continental.
which
Uh,
I was sad about that because I thought that was probably gonna have to happen, and I was like, I really don't want him to have to kill Winston because I think it's even said that like they're kind of friends.
yeah, yeah.
You can
Again, you
tell they
can
don't want to they don't want to kill each other. So it's like, oh
yeah,
man, is he gonna have to do this? Like, because you just don't really see like a way out for John Wick at this point.
yeah,
But
and I mean, I didn't want them to kill Winston because I love the actor Ian McShane. Um, if you've ever seen Deadwood, he's like probably my like the best character on there.
I've not
He
seen
plays
Deadwood,
it's a great show. He
but I've
plays
seen
a
Kung Fu
character called
Panda.
is he in Kung Fu Panda?
He's Tai Long.
I don't remember who that is.
That was the villain from
In the first
one.
one?
Yeah, Tai
Really?
Long.
Oh my
Hmm.
god.
Yeah, he played Tai
Oh,
Long.
okay. But yeah, he's a great actor. I mean, it's nice that he's still alive by the end of this movie. But he John Wick goes back to uh to kill him, and Winston's kind of waiting there for John Wick because he's like, okay, I know this is gonna come to this, but he starts to talk to him and it's kind of like, do you want to like like live as a dog basically the rest of your life and just like be a servant to the high table, or do you want to you know like be your own man essentially? And John Wick decides like, okay, no, I'm not going to kill you. Let's fight back. And the adjudicator kind of declares the Continental as what was it like?
Well, it's no longer sacred ground.
Yeah, what
They can
she?
fight there.
I'm just trying to remember what the word was that she used for it.
I
Uh,
don't remember the exact word.
mm, I don't know. She basically like revokes the status of the hotel, and a bunch of dudes break in or walk in, and like John Wick and I forget the name of the Lance Reddick character. I'll look it up. Charon? Is that it? The concierge guy. Um,
I believe so. That sounds
I don't
right.
remember them ever saying his name, but apparently that's it. But yeah, so John Wick and Sharon have to, or Chiron. I think it's like a reference to like the Charon on the river Styx. Um, I don't know how to pronounce it though. But
Yeah, I like that
they
we got
fu-
to see him do some stuff in this one.
yeah, that was really fun. Uh, I liked this fight a lot. Um, this was maybe my like second favorite fight in the whole movie. I thought it was just kind of a neat idea that they had to like oh, they can't just use their regular handguns and stuff on these guys because they're like super armored up,
Yep.
which again felt very video gamey. I think I even mentioned that while we were watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, like you got to have more armored baddies once you get to like higher levels.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's not like it doesn't make sense for the
no,
movie
no,
to do this.
it's great. Like it's perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's fun.
it's just really funny because like they basically like start fighting them off with handguns, and they still do a pretty good job. But then they like go back to this little safe room that they have, and I love how just Winston just sits there just the entire time. He doesn't like try to he
Yeah. And
doesn't
it's
fight
safe.
or anything.
No, she's like,
He
I'll just chill
basically
here. You guys take care of them.
yeah, he's kind of like yeah, whatever. Like I know it's all gonna work out somehow. He just like has so much confidence in kind of like his own status and everything. But he never comes across as like I don't know, like an asshole like the adjudicator character, you know?
Yeah.
He always just kind of seems like cool and collected in a way. Um But like I love like they go back to the vault and they like get shotguns and like that's able to like fight them off a lot better. That was a lot of fun. Uh, there's a fun part where they're fighting off the guys and the adjudicator calls Winston and she's like, "How long are you gonna keep doing?" And he just like immediately hangs up
He
on her.
Yeah, he took a page out of John Wick's book right there. Just hangs up.
That was great. Yeah, and then I think the bald guy, I think his character's name is Zero, uh, comes in and there's a fight with them, and well, John Wick fights off a bunch of other dudes first, and
Yeah, I think that's also where we get the scene where he fights the guys and they keep throwing them in these glass cases, which I thought was really funny.
yeah, what were in those cases? It
I
was
don't
like
remember there like I don't
they
remember
look
there
like
being anything.
they look like crystal skulls or something.
I don't know. I don't remember what was in them. I just know that was funny.
One of us made a joke that like about aliens or something in this scene. Do you remember what we
Yeah.
said?
Oh, John Wick has to fight an alien or something next. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I don't
I
remember
don't remember what
why
we
that
said.
came up.
I don't know.
Oh,
Well, it was like I was thinking of aliens because it was like, oh, they have like crystal skulls, I think, in
yeah. Then
these
you put
cases. That's what it
Indiana
looked like.
Jones. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, like the crystal skulls is a whole kind of whatever mythological
I know. I think we were
urban
taking
legend, whatever you
usually
want to call it.
usually when we bring it up though, we dunk on Indiana Jones, the fourth one.
Yeah, of course. It was like I was wondering, like what were in those cases? Um, but yeah, that scene was great. We're just like just keep knocking John Wick into these glass boxes, just over and over again, and it's like all I think done in one take. It looks
Yeah.
like,
A lot of the stuff
which
is
I
usually done in one take.
yeah, which is really impressive. I mean, like again, all the amount of like even in the night fight, like all the shattered glass in that scene and this scene that it's like, oh, if you mess up, you know, it you're gonna have to either you have to clean up the whole set and like get a new box to use and everything. So it's like the amount of rehearsal that they have to do for these must be pretty intensive. Um, so it's really like you know fun to watch that stuff and just kind of like appreciate that element of it. Uh, but yeah, I like he fights off a bunch of dudes and then he gets to like these two dudes and I think they're one guy's definitely from the Raid movies. I believe they're from their Indonesian films. I don't know if we've watched the Raid yet. Did we watch the first one? It's about like the SWAT team that goes into like a building to like get this one guy and they have to like fight their way. There's like lots of martial arts and gunfights in that movie. It
I
kind of
don't
feels like
think
John Wick
so.
before John Wick in a way. Like
I
really good
don't think
action
I have.
movies. Like those are awesome action movies. We got to watch those at some point. But those two guys, I think they're from the Raid movie. The one guy definitely is. I don't know about the other guy, but I kind of assume because they got more screen time than like other sort of henchmen characters and stuff, and they're alive by the end of their fight. So I kind of feel like they'll come back, right? Because like most of the time, John Wick just kills the person and they're gone, right?
Yeah, usually, yeah.
But like those two guys, like he decided to like leave them alive, and I think he says like "see you later" or something like that. Like he kind of implies like yeah, I'll fight again with you guys at some point. I
Hmm.
thought that was kind of neat. But he does kill the bald man, and I thought there was like a lot of fun, like kind of neat stuff in this fight. Like John Wick, they get like swords at some point, and John Wick like slices his arm, and it kind of like immobilizes his arm, but the guy keeps fighting back with just like his one arm. Uh, and you mentioned this when we were watching it, but like there's so many parts in this movie where John Wick is like gonna stab someone or something, and he just like has to hit the knife or whatever into the guy. He like hammers it in, and I think that's how he kills this guy.
He likes to
That
do
was
that, like hammer
yeah,
things into people.
yeah, especially in this one,
Yeah.
like with the book
You know what
in the
we have to
beginning.
bring up though? The nut shots.
Oh my god, yeah, we can't forget about this. So the first time I watched it with our friend Aaron, uh, and we he was there for this viewing as well. But the first time I watched it with him, I was just like, "Oh my god, there's like probably like 2 dozen shots to the nuts in this movie." And so I made it a point this time to count how many there were, and we came up with the total of 12 nut shots. People either getting stabbed,
Was it 12 or
shot,
13?
or hit. I think it was 12. Because I think we looked it up online later too, or Aaron did, and he said it was 12. So 12 times people are getting hit with the nuts, or hit in the nuts with in various different ways, either getting kicked in the nuts or stabbed in the nuts, which is really like hard to watch.
Yeah, this it's like did the director have
It's
some kind of
brutal.
like some type of vengeance against
I don't
balls or
know.
something in this movie?
I want like it doubled in the next movie though, because it was so like it was so ridiculous. Um, it wasn't like 2 dozen like I originally thought, but a dozen is still a lot. Um, I think there were like three in like one fight and one at one point. Um, and there was like one part where like earlier on in the when the dogs are with them, or like the guy gets like bit like in the nuts by the dog.
Yeah, it was. It's like
It's like, oh dear.
yeah, kind of makes you just
And those
yeah
dogs were super well trained too.
yeah.
Uh, very fun, like addition to like the fight scene. I liked that a lot. Yeah, like like you said, they always pull off really clever environments and stuff for these movies. I like always get utilized in an interesting way. I liked this fight uh toward the end with all the glass. Like there was a part where like John Wick like crashes the two guys like through the floor and they
Oh
fall
yeah,
into the
that's
next
pretty
floor.
cool.
That was really cool. Um or like just the way like they're fighting with swords at one point, and like just they're kind of like pushing the swords away from each other and everything, and like they keep kind of like scratching the glass with them. I thought like that stuff was like pretty fun, just like visually. Um, but yeah, so what happens? He beats the main, like kind of samurai dude, and um, Winston and the adjudicator kind of come to a parlay where they're like kind of
Parlay.
yeah, uh, they're like hashing it out and trying to come to some kind of agreement, and Winston says like, give me back my hotel, and like I'll kill John Wick. And like kind of seemingly goes against what John Wick and Winston talked about before, like not pledging allegiance to the high table. But like it's like we know Winston is doing it essentially to keep order for one thing, but like also to, because he's like he knows he's gonna come out on top and John Wick is gonna live. He like shoots John Wick off the building, and like it looks like he's dead for a second, because like damn, the fall was like long. He like falls and hits the some kind of slant on the building, and then like rolls off of that and hits the ladder, like the fire escape on the other building in the alleyway, and then
Yeah,
falls on a dumpster and then into the alley. It's like, oh man, yeah, if it wasn't John Wick, they'd be dead.
pretty much. Yeah.
Uh, so I don't. Although I guess we kind of did we get the impression that John Wick knew that Winston was going to do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
At
I
first,
kind
I
of felt
thought for
like
sure. Uh, I don't know. I definitely
I
think that
mean,
was like a plan. Because like he
Winston
had
seems
with
to know that like John Wick is gonna live
yeah,
and is like,
but John
you
Wick
know,
seemed like a little surprised by it.
a little, but
Yeah,
I don't
it's a little
know.
hard
It's
to
like they
tell.
know each other, so maybe I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe
maybe that wasn't like he
they were
didn't
in on it
know that was going to
together.
happen, but like when it did, he kind of knew why.
Yeah,
It's kind of
because I
the
mean,
feeling
it's
I
like
got.
John Wick is really beaten up at that point. Like they the Pigeon King Lawrence Fishburne has to gets his guys to pick him up and remove him from the alley and bring him to him. And of course, the adjudicator checks to see if John Wick is still there. He's not, and she goes up to Winston and is like John Wick is gone, and I like how Winston's just like such a tragedy, like as if like oh yeah he's dead. It's like Winston knows. She's like no, like he's gone. His body is gone. I don't know. I thought that was a funny exchange, and yeah, and then it kind of ends with John Wick being taken to the to Lawrence Fishburne, and sort of seems like they're going to start some sort of war against the High Table. And I mean, I feel like Winston is going to be in on it too. Like Winston's gonna, because
Yeah,
it seems like this High Table is this like
yeah, because I don't think they would just let go kind of like what he did to kind of get back his position.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
I think it's going to be them going to war with the High Table.
yeah.
I'm
I think
looking
that'll
forward
be
to
a
it.
really fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Um, yeah. There was a funny bit where at the end there where Lawrence Fishburne is like, "Oh, like they got your finger," like damn, and then like John Wick just like flips him off, which like I don't know. John Wick usually doesn't seem terribly like I don't know, uh, like has like a fuck you kind of attitude like that. So like that was kind of funny for him to do. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I like the way the movie ended. I think it was a pretty good cliffhanger. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I think that's most of the main story beats.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like, what do we think overall of the movie? I liked it.
I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I think I liked two more. I think I
Yeah,
was kind of more engrossed with two, like from beginning to end, whereas this one, some of the stuff in the middle, I thought dragged on a little bit too long. Didn't care as much for it. And I think what you said was definitely true about like the beginning. It kind of peaks there and then kind of down a little bit, then kind of goes back up again with the ending being like going out on like a pretty high note. And some of the twists and turns are pretty good. So yeah, I think it's still like really solid, really good, but I think it's not quite as good as the second one.
yeah. I kind of felt. I was thinking about like all of them. Just where how I think of each one compared to each other. Two is definitely like the best one. I would say. I think it was just the best in terms of like world building, story, and the action. It was like all really like well done just the whole way through. Like it had a great villain that you just like, wanted John Wick to get this guy. It had good turns with like when he goes to kill, that guy's sister, but she like kills herself. There's just like good twists and turns in that one. And like it always felt there was like consequence in that movie and like high stakes. And this one is like, I don't know, it kind of scaled things back a bit, and then it kind of had some parts that were pretty epic and grandiose. So I don't know. I kind of felt like I think comparing the third one to the first movie, I think the third movie like really excelled more in action, but I think I kind of liked the story of the first movie a little bit more.
Hmm.
Just like how simple it was and like
Yeah,
again that sense of
self-contained.
discovery and kind of unfolding this world was really fun in the
Hmm.
first movie. Like, I think the
Yeah,
third movie had some things, but it kind of like it wasn't as interesting as the other movies. Like, yeah, the ballerina thing was cool, and uh, I don't know, it just didn't have like enough of it for me to like the story quite as much.
Yeah,
And kind
I
of
can see that.
the reversals of things from the second movie were kind of like not as not as bad as I like feel like I might make it sound like it's like it is, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
even if this was like the worst one, they're all like really good.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's the worst one.
I'm just
I
saying
just
if you counted this one as the worst one, even out of the
yeah,
three, like
it's still
they're
good.
all still really good. So even just saying like, oh well, if any of the three, were like the worst one, it still means it's a really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, as long as like the next two are still really good, I wouldn't like skip this or anything. Like I would still totally watch it. Um uh yeah, I think it's a really great action movie. Um but the story was not my favorite of the three. But it was still good. It was still really enjoyable. There was lots of like laugh out loud moments in the action. The choreography and
Oh, top notch.
camera, yeah, still top notch. Like this ruled. Uh, so yeah, I liked it. I'm really excited for the fourth one now. Um, I think the trailer does a good job at not really showing any action. Um, and yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of the fun of the fourth one. I hope. Um,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be good. I have no
yeah,
reason to doubt that it won't at least be a good, fun action flick.
yeah, these movies have all been really consistent um, in quality, and I think that's just because seems like it's all the same team working on it on each one. You know, it just seems like they're just kind of improving their skills in the action more and more each time. Uh, so yeah, yeah, I don't know. Should we just rate this one?
Sure.
Uh, I'm gonna give it a 3.5, which is the same score I gave the first movie because it's definitely not as good as two, in my opinion. Um, but it's like, yeah, as an action movie, it's better than the first movie. But as a story, I like it a little less than the first movie. So I think it kind of balances out, and it's about the same for me. I don't know. It's like
Yeah,
if I want story, I'll go to the first one. If I want
I kind of have
action, I'll go
similar.
for the third.
I have similar thoughts too, or similar like an opinion on that because
Yeah,
I also would probably give it a 3.5 because I gave the second. Did we both give it a 4? The second one.
yeah, we both did.
Yeah, and I don't think it's as good as the fourth one, so that's why I'm not giving it a 4. So I think 3.5. It's not much worse than the second one, but like we've already said, it doesn't do things like quite as well. The story isn't like quite as good, so I think 3.5 is a pretty fair score for this.
Yeah, yeah, 3.5 is still a really good score. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
I still really enjoyed it. It was fun to watch with everybody, and I still really like these series of movies. I'm excited for the fourth one and fifth one because that's happening too,
yeah,
and I hope these
and
continue to be good.
yeah, I think in a way the action in the third one might have been the most like complex in a way. It just felt like the scale was like really high in this one, and like just the way they used sets and the way they kind of incorporated certain things into it. I thought were really cool. Again, like the dogs and the glass, just how much glass gets destroyed in this movie
A lot of
is super
balls.
fun.
A lot of
if
balls
you
get hurt.
if you yeah, a lot of balls getting hurt. I mean, yeah, the knife fight I think is one of the best action scenes maybe in any movie. I mean, it was so much fun. Just seeing John Wick just throw knives into people who
Yeah,
are
those
basically like are already defeated. It was like just really funny.
indeed.
I don't know. I get a kick of how ridiculous the violence is in these movies.
Yeah, you
Um,
wouldn't think these movies would be like some of the violence would be as funny as it is because
Yeah,
obviously we saw that
but
in the
it's
second
so
one. I don't remember that really being like that in the first one. I don't remember laughing at like anything over the top in the first one, but like the second, maybe because like we didn't watch it together, but like I said, the second one had multiple scenes that made us laugh, and this one had quite a few scenes that also made us laugh. So
yeah. Well, the first one was very much like more engaging in the story, and like the first one also didn't like start off with a crazy action scene either.
right.
Like because it's like in a way the first John Wick is almost like a trick. It's like here's this drama, and then nope, he's a hitman, and he's gonna
Hmm.
go like into this badass world with all these other badasses. And it's like, okay, well, now that we're in that, it's like kind of like the sequels just kind of start off with action uh to get you pumped, and then kind of get into the story a bit, and then more action, then a little bit of story, then some action. um so yeah, I don't know. I expect the fourth one will start off with some crazy action scene, but who knows? Kind of like with the way that three ended, maybe they'll kind of like have to get John Wick back up in a way, you know,
Mm.
because he's really beat up by the end of the third movie.
Yeah, he's gonna need some time to rest and recover.
Yeah, so who knows? It's kind of crazy though that it's been, well, when the movie comes out, it'll have been like 4 years since John Wick 3. That's pretty crazy. So I
Yeah, well,
hope, I
they
mean,
probably got John Wick 4 this year. You know, not for code, I'm sure.
yeah, and I know Keanu Reeves had obligations to do Matrix 4 as well.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's true.
I think that kind of pushed things back a little bit too. Um, but I kind of hope that just left, these guys to like come up with even more crazy action scenes, you know?
Mm.
Um, but who knows? The movie's been written for a while, I'm sure. So who knows? Maybe they didn't change anything. Maybe some of the crazy ideas will go into the fifth one. Who knows? Yeah, I watching the trailer, I remember reading some article or seeing some headline that said like, yeah, John Wick Chapter 4 has a sense of finality to it. I watched it. I didn't really feel that way. It feels like it's going to be another chapter, and then
Yeah, well, that
probably the
makes sense
fifth
because
one.
that's not the last one. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they ended it here, but I mean, I don't really think. I feel like there's enough story to continue it for chapter 4 and 5. So that's what I assume will happen.
mm.
But yeah, I'm excited for the fourth one, and I guess what are we gonna do for December? Because we're done with John Wick up to this point, so we got to start a new series.
We're doing Christmas
Or
movies for December, right?
Yeah, Christmas movies. So I kind of figured, since I think both of us have ideas for recommendations for Christmas movies, I kind of figured we'll just each do two.
Two.
We'll
Yeah,
just kind of swap off.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know who wants to go first.
Rock, paper,
Do-
scissors. I don't
Well,
care. I
uh,
don't. I don't care.
okay. Well, there was one movie that I wanted to do that comes out on the 9th. So maybe I'll take the week after next week. So how about
Okay,
how about you pick?
so do you want the 12th and the 26th then?
I think that sounds good. I wanted to pick Krampus for the 5th, but I don't think it's on any streaming services. I'll
Mm.
check real quick. Um, yeah, I don't think it is. Streaming on like Peacock and a premium subscription on Hulu, so yeah. Uh, I'll pick something else. Um, so yeah, I think you can go. You go first.
Okay.
What's
Do you know what I'm going with? I mean, I already
I
talked
think
about doing one of them.
I think I do. Yeah. What is it?
We're going. My first movie is Elf, baby. We're going with Elf, starring Will Ferrell. I love Elf. We're watching Elf.
I haven't seen Elf in
Probably a long
I don't
time.
even know how long. It's been a while. I remember really liking it.
It's good.
How
Hellville.
do people watch along with us? What's it on?
It's on HBO Max. I checked
Oh, okay.
yesterday.
Okay,
So
great.
we're watching Elf, baby. One of my favorite Christmas movies.
It sounds good to me. Yeah, so watch Elf, and we'll see you next time on the Movie Night Society. Bye.
Y'all just got wicked. John
Oh,
Wicked.
dear God. Why didn't I stop it earlier?
Because they
I'm
just
so
got
sorry.
wicked. You just got wicked.
No, oh God, I'm gonna stop it now.